Hello, everyone. Today on Female Frequency Podcast, I am thrilled to introduce you to the OG of eco design. Now, she is a visionary artist who is reshaping our future one discarded item at a time. Julie Conway is a self proclaimed dumpster diver who takes very special pride in transforming trash into extraordinary designs. Now, she's winning awards across the United States, England, and Italy, and so many other places. Her hand-blown glass installations are coveted by luxury brands, interior designers, and collectors alike. She's driven by her mission, which is to bring light and beauty to the world. On this episode, Julie shares her secrets and her thought paths and how she keeps her practice carbon positive. Join us as Julie and I talk about her inspiring journey from a glassblower to lifelong eco designer, proving that artistry and sustainability can beautifully coexist. Now, this conversation is part of my Climate Pledge in Glass docuseries, which I created in 2023 in partnership with Refract, the Seattle Glass Experience, which is the nation's newest festival celebrating the innovative and creative approaches to glass. Hello.
Hi, Jody.
We are with Julie Conway. Everyone, look, this is her studio. She is living and working in Seattle. I am so thrilled that she has invited us into her studio and can take a little time and take us on her climate crisis journey and how she has turned some of her emotions into beautiful glass sculptures. And let me tell you, she is a game changer when it comes to the technology of being able to work in glass, and particularly with recycled glass. So as we get started, you guys, I hope you can pay attention to what she's been able to do and join her and us as we keep on keeping on talking about the climate crisis and what we can do, especially with surrounding ourselves with things that are recycled to help the economy. Julie, thank you so much for having us over. How has your climate crisis journey been? You know, like what did that moment look like when you knew that you had to work with what we got and like you had to talk about it?
For me, I don't look at like climate crisis journey. I look at lifestyle, and it has been since I was a kid. So how do you step lightly on this earth? It starts there. You don't need a crisis. You don't need everybody to just run the alarm bells. You just need to be smart. And I don't think our current living society, the norms and whatever, takes that into consideration. Um, but is how do you consume, starting from you? What do you do on a daily basis? It can be very small things added up every single day. And it's, many, many years back, how I lived in school, recycled stuff, how you can reclaim. I was a big Goodwill shopper in high school, buying, used clothes before it was even popular. You know what I mean? Like that, that was kind of like a thing I could do, right? Things that were already good. I was a massive dumpster diver. I have a $20,000 or more probably armoire out of the garbage that I got in Santa Fe. You know what I mean? Like there are gems in the garbage all the time. People are throwing away amazing things, discarding life. And I think it is really about your daily lifestyle. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to make art and now how can I be recycled and how can I be green? No, no. It is a lifestyle choice first. And I think few things started when I was in my 20s. I lived in New Mexico, is actually where I started glass making, but I already studied art and metal, and I did study art in France. And I had been to Murano glass making places over as a student when I was a student in Europe in my college days. But it's funny, I hadn't even turned on the glass making yet. I was like all into metal and art and art history. And so I was watching glass makers, but like, oh, this is neat. But I didn't even like have that in my field quite yet.
Right.
And to New Mexico, and my ex and I, we bought a property, and we wanted to build a house. And so we laid on our land for 5 nights and talked to all the trees and laid out where we would put our property so we would not cut down as many trees. And these were pinon trees, and they take a long time to grow in New Mexico. And then when we had the tree guy come, you can have a tree excavate, take it out. But we paid extra. We had them ball all the trees. We donated them to the schools, and we laid out our property that the sun, because we were using alternative green building techniques. So we had rostra block, which is recycled styrofoam and concrete. We had a solar powered radiant floor with a heater that the hot water was solar powered. And we had a wood stove that was a built-in chimney that was the eco stove. And we did a lot of things. And then passive solar in New Mexico is a huge gain. And we also had a gray water system where all of our sinks in our house and our bathtub fed floral beds that we had food and plants in our house.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I'm loving how you're asking people to have their own existential conversation, and just to be able to hear everything that you've done is quite inspirational.
Yes. Yes. And so we were mostly off grid with that house, and it was pretty high end design too. That's what I love. You don't need to be a hippie in a tent or a hut of mud to be green. And that's the turnoff. Like, I don't want to be filthy and dirty. I want to be nice. I want to be in a good looking house. I want to feel good in my house. And so how can we instigate these systems? And then the very similar timing, as we were building this house, I got asked to come from this jewelry metal studio to come help these guys in glass. And I didn't know anything about glass, but I walked in and the material blew my mind. I was like, oh, so
oh my God. What
something.
kind of year, what year are we talking about when this?
1996.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
Just a few years back.
Just a few years. Yeah.
So I loved glass, and I went on a journey of just exploring and figuring it, and working for anyone, working for free, working for, whatever I could do. And at the same time, so we had that first house, and then I moved on. When I started glassmaking, I moved to Santa Fe, and I lived in a completely green tin can cabin. Actually, it was one of Mike Reynolds' first, the Earthship builder. I lived in his prototype house, and that was 100% off grid. It was all wind powered, and we had car batteries that ran the house and did that. And then I lived also.
I'll have to talk to you later about the wind, because I'm interested in the wind energy.
A lot of power there. And then the third house I lived in off grid was a Japanese designed home with an eco heating box. So you built a fire in one box, but it does a chimney that kind of coils all around, heats your whole house from one small fire, and you cook on it and you do everything on it. So it's pretty neat.
Was that experience connected to images like this?
It is not. That was before all of that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It is like my background in green energy. And as I designed more in glass and started working in glass, I was invited to work in Italy, in Murano. It was 2002, I believe, and I worked over there at the Abate school, and I worked there several years in a row, back and forth. And one of the most tragic things that did happen while I was there was the watching of the furnaces going out. You have the image still up. Are we still talking about this image? Because we're a bit far from that. But the sadness of being on the dock.
Yeah.
My friends, where they had their family furnace of over 500,000 years. So yeah, these photos are way down the line.
Way down the line. Yeah.
background story at the moment before we talk about these.
Yeah,
So
we'll come back.
yeah. Anyways, so watching these furnaces die and these family businesses of centuries die was really where I launched bioglass. So bioglass became a nonprofit in 2005 when we had the very first green panel at the Glass Art Society conference. So there's a bunch of other glass artists that contributed. We're all co-founders, and we were all trying to find ways that green energy, eco-sustainable glass making could be accomplished. And I'm telling you, it's not easy time. So we just kept putting all of our 501c3 together, and we kept like, oh, well, so-and-so or Museum of Glass or whoever, or donors, or they're going to believe in this and they're going to want to help us. And didn't really want, like, the glass community was like, don't ruffle feathers. We want to keep going. And the donors don't want to, they just want to like have beautiful things. It was kind of hard, actually, many, many years. But we went to green panel, became a permanent fixture on the Glass Art Society schedule every year. And we brought different and diverse topics every year, from education panels, from certain furnace building techniques to community and education, to on and on. It was really, really cool. We always had a different spin on it every year to try and get more momentum. And so I guess around 2012 or 2014, we just couldn't keep up the costs of a 501c3 without support. So it was just artists. It was only artists doing that. And we had no backers or supporters. So I launched my, and Jody, are you seeing me? Because I just see this photo.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I do see you. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if it's recording me or just been this photo for 10 minutes, but
no, it's been there. Yeah. Can you see me now?
I can.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
So, I don't know. It's kind of hard to talk to myself on that picture.
Sure. I was hoping it was inspiring you, but
no, thanks. I mean, yeah, but it's just like hard to talk to that. Anyway, where were we? So, like the nonprofit is now available in Facebook group, which are 1,800 people. We share tons of stuff going on with green energy techniques. And then moving forward, I tried to launch a glass making project with the Santa Fe water treatment plant, because they have a lot of CO2 coming off of that when you treat city water off the methane. Sorry, not CO2, methane fuel that we could use and burn before it becomes CO2. So, because it's getting burned off anyway. And so we were like, why don't we stick a glass furnace over this thing? And then all the methane could, while you're burning it, we could heat things, right? And there was a wonderful colleagues down in North Carolina with the Energy Exchange, and they were doing that off of a methane digester off the city dump. And so I tried to model that whole system there in Santa Fe, and it was going along. But then the city came in and they were really mad that we were going to get free fuel, and they wanted all this stuff. And so that didn't ever happen.
Free fuel. So then politics got involved.
Oh, always. Yeah. And several of our colleagues and founders of Bioglass had up against a lot of the politics. And there was a project that was going through in Louisville, Kentucky, on the Ohio border. And our friend, she had won a number of, almost $250,000 in grant money, I think, to launch her project. And then it was the same thing. Oh, was there free fuel for the city? And oh, we're going to take it, and you can have 15% of the fuel. We're going to use 85% of the fuel. And then she used her grant money in legal defense and then stepped away. She just couldn't do it. So it is hard. It is hard. And there's more examples of that. It's actually kind of tough. And
I'm
here,
sure. Yeah, I'm
when I
sure you'd
moved,
be good in
uh,
front of policymakers to help with that. Yeah,
when I moved to Seattle, I found one of the very few green built houses. I live in the city with a green built house. It's really great.
that's
I
awesome.
$20 on my utilities, and I live on a very, very low carbon footprint for my home. And to be honest, Seattle is good like other cities. When you have a community studio such as Pratt or Shack Art Center or Pittsburgh Glass Center or Benzeni's, whatever, Benzeni's in Florida, um, different community centers like this are actually very eco-efficient
Mm,
because the fuel is going to get used anyway, right? So glass is on. Once you turn on that big furnace, it is running. So if you have people like the Pratt example in Shack Art Center here in Washington is like 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. or, every single day there are glass blowers using that fuel. It's on anyway, so it's getting utilized to its maximum. And it's kind of like riding public transportation. Riding the train as a commuter, is a sustainable or eco-friendly type of thing instead of individual cars going down the road. So when you share the building materials for the building and you share tools and you share the furnace and you share everything that you would need as your own individual shop at home,
yeah,
you share all of that, right? And then it gets used to absolute maximum because I am not going to blow glass 7 days a week. That's impossible. Like we have to process the glass we blow, right? So
right.
you have all these other days that the furnace is on unless you rent. If you're a bigger influencer, you have a big large studio yourself, they often have a manager and they rent those other days that they're not using. So when you go to a community shop, it's already an eco-friendly move right there. And then the Pratt furnace for years was an Eddie Bernard recuperated furnace, and the fuel would go back in and reserve and all of that. And now we have some Fred Metz energy efficient materials and equipment in the studios as well. So I think that's one of the best things about being in a glass community is because we're all sharing, and it does take down even the building footprint, right? You know what I mean? Everything.
Yeah. We do have an unprecedented number of glass makers in the Puget Sound area.
Yeah, and that's why, because we also need the team, because glass making really isn't like, oh, I'm just painting on the Champs-Elysees and I'm going to decide whether or not I should add some clouds here or something.
Right.
It's full on, right?
It's
And you're
full
using,
on.
and the fuel is being used, the glass is hot, and and this is, we're talking hot furnaces, but even for kiln shops and things like Pratt, and where you can fire together and like, you know what I mean, and just use a communal space. It's really, really good. And I think that's what Refract here is celebrating, is that community. And I think Seattle does a really, really good job of it, and helping each other and sharing
And sharing, and a major hub and a major mark in art history with the studio glass movement and the American
right,
studio glass
right,
movement too.
right.
So I'm going to pull up that picture again.
Okay.
Let's walk us through these. So here you are blowing glass in the lower portion and some color pendants
Yeah.
here, but look at this huge pile of glass bottles.
Yeah. This picture was taken last week, actually, working in my partner studio in Oaxaca, Mexico. So my co-founder, one of my co-founders of Bioglass, Christian Thornton, he is a real guru on energy efficiency and using eco-efficient techniques. And I should say the reason why I'm partnering with his studio in Oaxaca is because for years I've tried to get a green glass system going here in Seattle. And I wanted to use systems like going and collecting restaurant vegetable oil that is used in frying process. And they have to pour that either down a drain or somehow get rid of it. And it is a waste product. And it is a cost to a restaurant to either try and get rid of it, or it also is a bad thing for the pipes in the city, right? So
Yeah.
Christian has come up with a really great system. And we also had our other co-founder, Hugh Jenkins, had a similar system in Hawaii where, you know, the diesel trucks go around and pick up vegetable oil, and we go and put it in the furnace, and we have a free fuel. You know, it's fantastic. So I was all about trying to set up this system through the ID and the Chinese restaurants and Vietnamese, all those, you know, great restaurants that are so close to Pratt and so close to, you know, Benny Moore's studio and other glass making spaces, that I was like, oh my God, we could get all this oil. They use it so much, and it'd be
Right.
really close to these locations. And then I was kind of told by, you know, authorities at hand that it was like, oh, no, 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 Julie, you need a hazmat driver's license. You need $100,000 this, you need a specialty truck. And I was like, wait, this is just vegetable oil that they literally bought at Costco. You know,
Insurance.
we're talking
Yeah.
it in plastic barrels out, just like it got in here. What are you talking? This isn't a nuclear hazmat situation, you know, this is crazy. So again, the systems are really, really tough and challenging and uphill. And then I just was like, I have these lighting lines that I've been wanting to put into recycled glass and other product. And how can I get this out and provide jobs and make a difference? So
I
Christian,
see. Yeah.
yeah,
So he was definitely,
Christian,
yeah,
he just
huge
invited.
help.
He's like, just come work with me. And I'm like, okay, perfect. So now I really excited because my traditional lighting studio, Illuminata, has been making custom beautiful pieces for hospitality or residential or whatever. And then now the Lumi collection is mostly made out of recycled glass. So it's high-end lighting pendants. It's a series. It's ready-made, and I have glassware, and I get to go work with his team. And yeah, and this pendant is called the Bola pendant, and the shape is all about the old buoys, the fishing buoys, from all the countries, you know, definitely Russia, Japan, Italy, Venezuela. Everybody had these big glass floating buoys in the sea that would hold up the fishing nets, and they
Yeah.
could bob around, and they would never degenerate. And they also they don't leave a toxic residue in the ocean. Like plastic buoys break down and they add more microplastics to the ocean. They also, where the connection of the net is, can break and leave the buoy floating off or sinking into the sea or adding to the plastic island. And so this whole light series came up of looking like those old buoys, which I wish we would use because they're also beautiful. And they could
Yeah.
also, you know, the fishing nets used to be like a hemp rope and glass. And that is like this
Exactly.
whole
Yep.
situation, right? It's like that's going to last forever. And I will say, even though there is a fuel intensity to using glass, it's a sustainable material. It lasts thousands of years. Look at the Chartres windows, or the, you know, Notre Dame, like rosette windows are thousands of years old. And there is a sustainability into how long your project stays, you know.
Right. Right.
Um, that yeah, like if you make a couple efforts on how you live or balance out on how your studio is, or if you're using community studio, then yeah, you're making a sustainable product, you know, and that's something that's really important.
Well, my goal for you is to definitely help find a sponsor for Glass Bio. I just think everything about that is
Yeah,
so important. And as we come to a close, do you have some future projects that you want to let everybody know about?
well, I think what's super exciting, I have a brand new mold in the works down in Oaxaca. We're going to have a couple new series launching in 2024.
Awesome.
I think right now, thank you, Jody, for bringing this to the fore. It's really interesting because, you know, we worked really hard through the Glass Art Society, and we all have a role in this, right?
Yeah.
And people are seeking this information. They are. But like I said, and it's almost like that 100th monkey type of thing. It's like it has to gain, it has to gain. But also the real change right now, do you want me to be seen? I'm just like still on the photo,
Oh,
but
I just liked having that picture up. Let me stop that image right here. Hi.
I was gonna say my because my message to the people is, how do you want to contribute to this? Everybody's got a role in
Yeah.
this. And so, we're all doing our best. We're all trying to survive as artists. It's hard once you choose the artist path. Sometimes you're like, I got to just do whatever I got to do. I got to pay my studio. I got to sell this piece, and, but I do think there's an interconnectivity. And so, are you supporting the farmers markets? Are you doing like all things? The sustainable life isn't just like, oh, I'm flipping this switch, because that's how we've lived for the past 100 years. It's like, oh, flip on the gas switch, but we don't know where it really came from. Or, this idea of electric cars, but it's like, electric cars comes from coal, right? Where are you getting the electricity? So are you charging your electric car on a solar generator? Because then we're actually talking about a green energy, right?
Yeah. And those batteries, oh gosh.
Yes, batteries. And then, but the whole thing also is like, we aren't even set up as a society because they don't want it to be set up, right?
No,
There's
our
not
infrastructure
made if you let people get cycles and systems that sustain themselves, and they can't dime and nickel every little charge, and they can't do this. So that's really the hard part, is you have to come up with creative ways and bond together with others. And I think that's some of the main things. So I really appreciate this opportunity to highlight that. And you got to be bold, and you got to get out of your own system, because it's not going to be made for you. That's for sure. That's for
right. Sure. Yeah, you have to be curious enough to come out and look for it.
Yeah. And just to add, like, I did live in those houses off the grid, and I live in this current green built home, and I drove my car on a hydrogen generator for 5 years. Like, that's, you got to just find the opportunities. And I support local farmers, and I want systems that are supporting me, whether or not it's part of my art, right? That's my life.
That's a lifestyle. That's a beautiful message.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Thanks for being such an inspiration and sharing your voice with us, because it matters. And your creativity is gorgeous.
Oh, thanks. We'll get all of your beautiful efforts and interviews and refract. We'll get this link put up for you too, bioglass.org. People can follow and keep it there. I always want to archive every kind of thing in the glass history, like what's been done. We even have a world map of where people are doing eco-efficiency furnaces and stuff like that.
Oh, awesome. And I'll make sure everybody's got your information so they can reach out to you or reach out to me to get a hold of you, for sure.
Yeah. So we want to be
or the pendants
there as a resource, right? Yes. And so people can come, oh, wasn't there an interview at some year and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, like it's all in a kind of and I'm happy to share or use, or anybody wants to put something up there, give it to me. Or, hey, get me what do you call it? I need a college or high school website intern.
An intern. Yes.
Put up there, and we're all running our studios and doing this.
Yep. But if you're an intern out there and want to know what's up and have a hunger to learn, reach out to both of us.
Yeah. Thanks. And by the way, I did have this. I remember I set this aside.
Let us see.
Yeah, this is a recycled glass sconce that this series did launch at the Four Seasons Hotel. So, you can put trash to treasures literally in like a high-end design situation. So all of the bottles that were used to make this were trash bottles.
And you know what? That kind of looks like the interior of a single-use plastic. And I'm sure it shadows and makes great reflections.
Oh, it does.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And the whole wall of down at the Four Seasons, like water reflecting patterns. And it's just,
oh my God, the water.
A beautiful meal. So, and I'm always in the dumpster diving. I mean, always. It's just kind of a lifestyle. So there's
You're amazing. Well, we look forward to keeping up with you as we go on.
Thank you.
Keeping on.
Making this come together, and I'm happy to be a part. Thank you so much.
Oh, great.